Hello everybody and welcome to Chasing the Truth with your host Chase Steffes here. And in my last video I went and talked about the playoffs and everything that is happening there with the AFC Championship and NFC Championships and who is going to go on and play in the Super Bowl and who is in the championship games. Make sure you go out and check that video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Send it out to friends, family, and anybody that you know that likes football and likes sports, and get this known for everybody to see. And I know that there is a lot to cover in the next few videos, and with this one, I'm going to be covering a lot about the quarterback prospects that are going to be coming out for this draft. And I know that my team, the Cleveland Browns, are not in the playoffs, and a lot of other teams are not as well. So I am going to give you an in-depth look on some quarterback prospects and other prospects that are going to be coming out into this next upcoming draft. And I know that this is not your typical draft class with guys like Trevor Lawrence, guys like Joe Burrow, guys like Justin Herbert, but you do have the diamond in the rough guys that you can find in this draft that can produce and work well on teams that need quarterbacks. And you have a lot of teams out there that still need some. My team, for me, I'm kind of, indecisive on if I trust Baker or if I don't. We've seen glimpses, signs, and, videos and proof that he can be that guy that we need. Decisive on if I trust Baker or if I don't. We've seen glimpses, signs, and, videos and proof that he can be that guy that we need, but he needs to do it consistently. He's given the game up too many times for us and caused us to lose a lot of games. So the door is open on whether or not we're going to get somebody. I think that they're going to look at all the options that they've got and then get back and assess and see what we got. All I know is that they got Baker coming back for one more year. This is a prove-it deal. We have not signed him to a long-term contract. We will see. I personally want to see him walk and pick up somebody next year. Maybe Spencer Rattler if he comes out and balls. Maybe C.J. Stroud. There's also Tyler Van Dyke from University of Miami. There's also Bryce Young. There's a lot of guys that are coming out next year's draft that I will talk about later. But we'll talk about this draft right now. And there is not that quarterback prospect that is poised to go number one overall. Obviously not, because the Jaguars have the number one overall pick. So they got Trevor Lawrence last year, so they're not going to. I think that they might go in the route of Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, which that would be the smart choice, but a lot of people are projecting them to get Evan Neal, the tackle out of Alabama, because they need somebody to protect Trevor Lawrence on that offensive side of the ball, and somebody that is going to be that driving force on the offensive line. And obviously his offensive line was bad this year, so they need that one person. And so that would leave Aiden Hutchinson to fall to Detroit at number 2. So for this draft class, a lot of the quarterbacks that they have, they've got Kenny Pickett, they've got Sam Howell, they got Malik Willis, they've got Desmond Ridder, and they've got Matt Corral. And a lot of people I hear are talking about these quarterbacks specifically, and we have not gotten a chance to see a lot of them play. We will see Kenny Pickett, we will see Desmond Ridder, and we will see a lot of guys in the Senior Bowl and in the East-West Shrine game to see how they play even more. And then they've also got the Scouting Combine to get more in-depth on how these quarterbacks are. Now, there are a lot of teams out there, Denver, Carolina, Washington, New Orleans, and Pittsburgh, and many more that are still looking for that franchise quarterback. With Big Ben moving on, Pittsburgh could be in the market for a quarterback. They are picking at 18th right now. I do not see them landing one of the top guys that they want unless they trade up in the draft, but we will have to wait and see. My opinion, I think the first quarterback that is taken will fall to Carolina at 6, because obviously you got the New York Giants at 5, and they've also got a pick at 7, but they've already come out and said that they are sticking with Daniel Jones, so I do not see them moving on from Daniel Jones. I see that the Carolina Panthers at 6 going after the top quarterback prospect in this draft class, which, in my opinion, there's only 3 that I really like, and that's Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, which I'll talk about him in a second, and Desmond Ridder. But I can see them going after Kenny Pickett because towards the end of the season, he was a Heisman finalist. He showed that a lot of poise in the pocket, a lot of, he just needs a little bit of work on his footwork. His decision making is great. He can use a little bit more touch on his arm. He's got a strong arm, got great accuracy, and everything that you are looking for. He's put up great numbers this past year with Pitt. With him being a senior, he's got a lot of college football experience under his belt. I think if you throw him in the right system with the right coaches, he will thrive and be a success right away in the NFL. And he's also 6'2", 215 pounds. He's got a great frame built to be that quarterback that can stand in the pocket and take a hit if you need. And Kenny Pickett, my opinion, is going to be the first quarterback taken. Now, moving on, depending on who Denver gets at 9, or who they get for their head coach, at 9, Denver picks. Now, there's a lot of guys that they could go with, but everybody's really high on Malik Willis. I think that this is a guy that is a Lamar-esque type quarterback. He's got the potential to be kind of like what he is, but he still needs work on his footwork. He still needs work on his throwing. He still needs work on his mechanics. He needs a lot of work. And if you throw him in right away, he will not thrive and succeed. I say give him a year under a veteran guy, give him a year to develop, and then start him the following year. He will be an amazing quarterback. I think that he would benefit going back to Liberty for one more year. But all in all, I think that you have a great guy in Malik Willis. But I think the best pick for Denver at that time is Matt Corral. I am not really high on Matt Corral. I actually have him as the 4th guy on my list, maybe even 5. But a lot of teams like him and the way that he played at Ole Miss. I think I had not really seen a lot of the stats on these guys. I know it was Carson Strong stats. I know Desmond Ridder had pretty good numbers. And I know Kenny Pickett had pretty good numbers. I think Matt Corral's numbers were about 3,500 yards and I think 30 touchdowns or more with, I think, maybe 8 or 9 picks. I'll actually put the numbers of all the quarterbacks up when I talk about them and in my videos. So I'll talk about Kenny Pickett. I'll throw up his stats, and then I'm talking about Matt Corral, and I'll throw up his stats, and so on and so forth. But they pick at 9. I think their best pick is Matt Corral at this point in time, and you throw him in there, and he could thrive right away, but it really just depends on who they get as their head coach, because you need a guy that is going to, step in and take this offense to the next level. Denver is a step away. They are a quarterback away from thriving in this offense. His height could hinder him. He is 6'1". I know a lot of teams are looking for that anywhere from 6'3" to 6'6" range in their quarterbacks, but with the way that he plays and how good he is, I think that Denver would be a good fit for him. He makes risky decisions. He's got a great ball. He's got great arm and great touch on it. I think his footwork needs a little work, and I think his throwing mechanics could use a little work. But that is stuff that is 100% coachable and things that you could look at. Next up on the list, you've got Washington picking at 11. Now, if Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral have not been picked by pick 11, Washington needs to jump on Kenny Pickett. That would be the straw that breaks the camel's back for them. They've got Jalen Hurts in that division. They got Dak Prescott in that division. And Daniel Jones is a hit or miss. We'll have to wait and see what he can actually do with a good offensive line and a good head coach that can get the best out of him. The jury is still out on him. I personally think that, we have not seen the potential of Daniel Jones. And I think if you bring a guy in that like Eric Bieniemy to the Giants, that is a great offensive mind, the Kansas City offensive coordinator, they can bring the best out of Daniel Jones. But we'll have to wait and see what they decide and what they do. But I think that if they Washington has Kenny Pickett available, you jump on him immediately. But all in all, I think that if you are a quarterback away and you want a guy that is going to step in and be a starter 100% right away, I think that you've only got 2 guys that could possibly do this, maybe 3. Sam Howell is a guy that could step in and take over and be that immediate impact. I know that he's more like a Baker Mayfield-esque quarterback, but he's got the accuracy, he's got the pocket presence, and he's got the footwork. The only thing that he needs to work on is his decision making, and the fact that his numbers do not show that he's been really good this year. Like, you look at his numbers and you're like, oh wow, are you sure you know what you're talking about? Well, keep in mind that a lot of his weapons. Dyami Brown went to Washington. You had Michael Carter and Javonte Williams go pro. The two great running backs that played for the Tar Heels last year left. But going up against each other, you had Sam Howell and Malik Willis go up against each other. You had Malik Willis and Matt Corral go up against each other. Matt Corral came out on top on that one. And I think Sam Howell came out on top on that. Then you had Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell. Kenny Pickett led his team in a comeback win against the North Carolina Tar Heels. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on these games, but from what I remember, I'm pretty sure Pitt played North Carolina and Sam Howell was leading them down the field and did great. But in the end, Kenny Pickett led their team on a comeback and they won against Sam Howell. But Sam Howell is a guy that shows that he's got what it takes to play. You just put him in that system, give him the right offensive system, give him a good offensive line, and he's got Dyami Brown, who he's got chemistry with. He's got Terry McLaurin, and he's also got Curtis Samuel. I think that you just need that quarterback, that presence, and Washington will take a massive step forward if they find the right guy in this draft, because they didn't take a chance on a quarterback last year, so they need to take a chance on one this year, and they cannot wait another year. Or if they do want to wait another year, you've got a pretty decent quarterback class coming out in 2023, but that is ultimately the missing piece that they are missing for that offense and things that are going to carry them and propel them into the playoffs and into the future for years to come. The only knock that you've got on Sam Howell is his height. Again, Matt Corral, Sam Howell are the 2 shortest quarterbacks in this draft. I think Matt Corral's sitting at 6, maybe 6'1", and you got Sam Howell sitting at 6'1". That is a little bit on the shorter side for quarterbacks when you are looking at people that need to go above and beyond. We'll have to wait and see, but ultimately, Sam Howell is the best choice. Now, going after that, you don't really see a lot of people needing quarterbacks until you hit the Pittsburgh Steelers and New Orleans Saints. There's still a lot of missing pieces to figure out what's going to happen this offseason. We don't know if Rodgers is going to retire. We don't know if he's going to go to a different team. We still have to figure out what Deshaun Watson is doing in his situation, where he is going to go, because ultimately we know that he wants out of Houston. We know that the Texans are willing to trade. So we don't know. These picks that I'm telling you right now and where these quarterbacks should be taken ultimately decide on what free agency does. And heck, even Russell Wilson might want out of Seattle and go somewhere. So we will have to wait and see who picks what and who gets who before we make any rash decisions on where these guys go. But I'm just giving them the best quarterback prospects that they possibly can get, and I'm giving them the best option and where I believe that they would go. Now, going on my list, I have not said the guy who I had as my third guy on the list, and there is a reason why, and I'm going to get to that right now. And there is a guy that is being underlooked in this draft who, in my opinion, is the 3rd best quarterback in this draft class, and I think a lot of teams will regret not taking a chance on this guy. And I very well could be wrong, but I have to wait and see in the Senior Bowl, in the East-West Shrine Game, and in the NFL Scouting Combine before I can make a final comparison video and a final decision on all of these quarterbacks. But right now, I believe that Desmond Ridder and Carson Strong out of Nevada are some of the two best quarterbacks coming out of this draft. And I know what you're saying, Chase. Are you sure? Desmond Ridder laid an egg against Alabama. He didn't play very well. They didn't really play any good teams this year. It's not about who you play, it's how you play. And against a lot of the teams this year, when his back was against the wall, Desmond Ridder showed time and time again that he could step up and produce and come out with the win on top. And the thing is, you don't have that high-class talent in Cincinnati that shows a lot of weapons that he would have. He has, weapons that come out of, D2, D3, even D4 schools. And he was putting up the numbers and winning games with these guys that normally would not go in the first, second, or third round. They'd probably go in the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round. But he was putting up numbers with these guys. I think his numbers were 4,100 yards with over 32 touchdowns and maybe 10 interceptions. And those are fantastic numbers for him. Again, I will put the numbers on screen for you guys to see when I am doing the editing, and you'll see for yourself how good these numbers are. But I think with sitting at 6'4", 220 pounds, Desmond Ridder makes, a lot of risky decisions, and his footwork needs work, but he's got accuracy, he's got a great arm, and his decision making needs work. Footwork and decision making can come with time in the NFL and with the right head coaching staff. I think if you pair a guy like Desmond Ridder with Mike Tomlin or with Sean Payton, he will hands down be one of the best quarterbacks coming out of this draft class, because if you put him on the Pittsburgh Steelers, let Dwayne Haskins start this next year, give Ridder time to develop, see the NFL, see how it plays, and not only that, having the weapons that he has on that offense with Najee Harris, Chase Claypool, James Washington, if they re-sign him, Juju, if they re-sign him, and Deontay Johnson, pairing Desmond Ridder, a 6'4", 220-pound quarterback who is not scared to get outside the pocket and run, because I know Tomlin said that he wanted a mobile quarterback. He has been shown that he will take off and run when you need it. A guy like Desmond Ridder would be perfect for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that they are division rivals, but I'm putting that aside because this is what an analyst does. He does not choose favorites. He analyzes and picks the best case scenario. And I personally think that Desmond Ridder, if you give him 1 year to sit in the NFL and learn how the system is and how the NFL plays, he will be a phenomenal quarterback in this league for years to come. And you pair him with Mike Tomlin, who is a guy that has never had a losing season as a head coach in the NFL. That is a deadly combo. And I think that ultimately, Pittsburgh, the best place for Desmond Ridder. And yes, it is a stretch, a very big stretch, picking Desmond Ridder at 18th for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because he is easily a second-round talent. You can get him in the second round, but the thing is, if you want to get a guy like Desmond Ridder, you will have to trade up in the second round to get him, and he might not be there because the Lions have the first pick in the second round. They might pick him. The Carolina Panthers, if they don't go with the quarterback at 6, they will go with the one, I think, at 36 or 35 or whatever they pick. You also have Denver that you got to get past. You got to have Washington you got to get past. Some other team might trade up. So 18 may be a stretch, but if you're reaching for him and he turns out to be a gold mine, you hit the diamond in the rough, my friend. And frankly, yes, his film on Alabama is not great, but you also got to look at what he had to work with on the offensive side of the ball, and pairing him with the Steelers' offense and how great their defense is, and then you give him a coach. All you got to do is build up that offensive line. I know a lot of Steelers fans are going to want Kyle Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa, who is one of the best offensive line prospects in this draft, but I think he is going top 10. He will not fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, there's a lot of teams in desperate need of offensive line help, and I frankly think that he will not make it out of the top 10, and if he does, I will be shocked. But hear me out, Steelers fans. Look at Desmond Ridder's film, look at how he plays, and tell me that I am wrong when I say this. Desmond Ridder or Carson Strong are two guys that need to be looked at in this draft. And You cannot sit here and tell me that that is not a good pick. And then finally, the last guy that I am looking at Carson Strong, the quarterback out of Nevada. He is also 6'4", 215 pounds, threw for 36 touchdowns, had over 4,300 yards, if I'm not mistaken, and 8 interceptions. And with a guy that is that built and that good, with those kinds of numbers, and I know numbers can be deceiving because you had guys like Kellen Moore who had the most the most wins in college football, and you got a guy like Bailey Zappi who just beat Joe Burrow's record for most touchdowns thrown in a season. I get that numbers aren't everything, but it's not just the numbers. The film on this guy, he looks like a Josh Allen-esque type quarterback. Now, that is a stretch and a reach. I get that, but being at Nevada, he didn't play high-class competition. He did not play, any big-name quarterbacks that he's going up against. I think that he might have played one or two, maybe Kenny Pickett, I'm not sure. But I have seen tons and tons of film on this guy, and honestly, if the Browns were in need of a quarterback, I would say that we should trade up in the second round to get Carson Strong, because I think that this guy could be something in the NFL, and I think that he could fall to 18th, or not 18th, maybe 16th or 17th. I'm not sure what pick the Saints are picking. I'd have to go back and look. But whatever pick the Saints are picking, I think they might be in the teens. So I might have been wrong. I think the Steelers have the 20-something pick and the Saints have the 18th. But whatever pick the Saints are, Carson Strong pairing with Sean Payton is a nightmare in disguise, because I said Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, and Desmond Ridder are the 3 quarterbacks that I would take in this draft over any of the others, because they have the best potential, they have the most to show for it, and with what they did, with the talent that they have, is insane. Because Desmond Ridder did not have the high-class weapons that he would have on the Pittsburgh Steelers. At Nevada, Carson Strong did not have the high-class weapons that they would have with the Saints, being with Kamara, being with Michael Thomas, and possibly getting another receiver. Yes, the Saints pick might be a stretch, but with Sean Payton, as good as an offensive guy that he is, and a quarterback whisperer that he is, he can make Carson Strong be a guy that is ready to go right away. I thought that, maybe if you set him half a season, maybe if you set him a full season, he's ready to go the next year. If they decide to go that route, re-sign Jameis Winston for 1 season, and then start Carson Strong the next season. You will not regret it. Go back and watch the film on this guy. He's got touch on his ball. He's got accuracy. He's got poise in the pocket. He makes decisions to run if he needs to. He'll step up in the pocket if he sees an open gap and then make a big decision, make a big play. This guy has it all for the makings of an NFL quarterback, and if you cannot see that, then you are blind. But like I said, I will make a final decision on all of these guys when I see them at the East-West Shrine game, at the Senior Bowl, and at the NFL Scouting Combine before I can make a final decision. But these are just the guys that I think, have the potential to be great quarterbacks in this league. Now, if it was me, I would look at Strong, Ridder, and Pickett before any of the others, but a lot of teams are really high on Matt Corral. A lot of teams really likes Malik Willis, and he is a project more than he is starting right away. If you want a guy that can start right away, Carson Strong is your way to go. Now, if you want a developmental project and a guy that you might have to wait another year on, that is a pick for the Denver Broncos. But if the Broncos are wanting to win right away and wanting to get to that next step and make it to the playoffs, they need to get a guy like Ridder. They need to get a guy like Strong. And they need to get a guy that is going to step in to that system immediately and make a big impact. It is detrimental and good for the development of all these quarterbacks. But that is all I have for the quarterbacks, and my top 5, and also 6th being Carson Strong. But, a lot of people are underrating him, not really giving him any looks and seeing how he is. He's kind of like the Lamar Jackson of this draft, how, not saying the talent wise, but I'm saying like how everybody was overlooking him in that 2018 draft. Everybody was really high on Sam Darnold, being that, generation quarterback for that draft, and then having Josh Rosen second, while they had Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson third, fourth, and fifth. I think Carson Strong is that guy that is being overlooked in this draft and needs to get more looks. But if you need a quarterback to go get hyped about and excited about, go look at Ridder, go look at Carson Strong, and then tell me that their numbers and the way that they play do not compare with how they are playing. And you get them on a team with a good head coach, good offensive weapons, they will make a big, massive impact for years to come. And that is all I got for you for this video for the quarterback prospects. We will do more with all the prospects coming up in the later rounds. I will give you my top 10 picks on who I think will be the top 10 prospects and who I think are the best ones in this upcoming draft. And then later on, we will do a full first-round mock draft on everybody and seeing who fits the bill for everything. Tune in. Do not miss that. Make sure you like and subscribe this video. Get it out to everybody. And then come back and watch me. I will be doing live sessions on YouTube for my YouTube channel. You will not regret it. Come back and watch. And everybody, have a fantastic day.